Walk into your hallway right now. Walk past your kitchen stove. Stand in the middle of the room and push down hard with your heel. If you feel even a slight bounce, if the floorboards give under your weight with a quiet creak, or if you open your floor vents and catch a heavy, damp, mushroom-like smell coming up from below, then sit with something serious for a moment. That floor above your head is slowly rotting from underneath. The wooden joists holding up your subfloor, your furniture, and your family are being eaten alive by a silent fungus that grows in the dark. And if you call a foundation repair company or a crawlspace contractor to look at it, a man in a clean polo shirt will crawl under your house with a flashlight, pull up a piece of insulation, show you a handful of dark, soft wood, and hand you an estimate for $15,000. Sometimes $18,000, sometimes $20,000 for plastic sheeting, commercial dehumidifiers that run on your electric bill every hour of the day, and heavy steel jacks. And the worst part is, 2 years from now, that plastic will tear. That dehumidifier will quit on the hottest day of July. The dampness will creep right back up through the dirt, and the same salesman will pull back into your driveway with a fresh contract. Now, look at the farmhouse sitting behind me right now. The oak floorboards in my kitchen were laid down in 1842. They do not bounce, they do not creak, they do not smell like damp earth or rot, and below those floorboards, in a crawl space with a bare dirt floor that has sat against the damp Pennsylvania ground through nearly 200 winters and summers, the wooden joists are as tight, dry, and sound as the day my great-grandfather notched them into the sill plate with a hand axe. My name is Elias Yoder. I am Amish, and I farm here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. We have never called a crawlspace contractor in the history of this farm. We use a plain, soft mineral powder you can buy at any local farm supply store for $6 a bag. It stops wood rot in its tracks, drives away termites and beetles, neutralizes damp ground moisture right at the dirt surface, and keeps your subfloor dry, firm, and level for decades without a single wire or monthly electric bill. To understand why your floor is bouncing, you first have to understand the trap that modern builders installed under your house, without asking you. You think of the space beneath your home as just an empty dark pocket holding up your joists. But to nature, a dirt crawl space is an active steam engine running 24 hours a day, every month of the year. The earth beneath your home is never truly dry. Deep underground, moisture moves constantly upward toward the surface through a natural process called capillary action. As the ground warms during spring and summer, that soil moisture turns into invisible water vapor, a continuous cloud of ground steam rising straight out of the dirt. In a natural forest, that damp air drifts away into the open sky. But under your house, that steam hits a dead end. It rises until it strikes your cold wooden floor joists, your subfloor plywood, and your fiberglass insulation. When warm, humid ground steam meets cooler wood, it condenses into liquid water droplets. The wood absorbs that moisture like a giant sponge. Once the moisture content inside your wooden joists climbs above 20%, a microscopic spore floating in the air lands on the wet wood and wakes up. That spore is wood rot fungus. It feeds directly on the cellulose fibers that give wood its structural strength, turning hard oak or pine into a soft, spongy honeycomb that crumbles under your thumb. So what did modern contractors do to fix this? They decided to solve the problem by sealing the crawl space tight. They covered the floor with cheap, thin plastic, stuffed fiberglass bats between joists, closed the foundation vents, and walked away. And that is where the trap snapped shut. Thin plastic tears easily. Water gets trapped underneath it, turning the crawl space into a tropical greenhouse. The fiberglass insulation acts like a giant wet blanket pinned against your subfloor, holding water against the wood. And because the vents are closed, zero air moves to carry the dampness away. This was not a mistake by the building industry. It was a business model. A sealed, damp crawl space guarantees that within 10 years, you get sagging floors and musty odors. Then they sell you full plastic encapsulation for $8,000, commercial dehumidifiers for $2,000, and monthly maintenance contracts. My grandfather knew you cannot fight ground steam by smothering it. You fight it by changing the chemistry of the dirt itself with a plain mineral that costs $6. Now I am going to show you the mineral powder that solves this whole problem at the source. It sits on the bottom shelf of every farm supply store, grain elevator, and old hardware store in America right now, completely unadvertised. It is called hydrated lime. Sometimes the bag says builder's lime, slaked lime, or calcium hydroxide. A 50-pound paper bag costs about $6. And when you mix it with a small handful of agricultural borate, the plain borax mineral used in laundry and soil conditioning, you create a natural chemical shield that makes it physically impossible for wood rot, mold, termites, or dampness to survive under your floor. Let me explain the simple chemistry of why this works, because once you see it, you will realize why expensive dehumidifiers are completely unnecessary. Wood rot fungus is a living organism, and like every living thing on Earth, it requires a very specific environment to survive. Specifically, wood rot fungi need three things: moisture, wood cellulose to eat, and an acidic environment. The soil under your house and the damp wood of your floor joists normally sit at an acidic pH level between 4.5 and 6.0. That acidic range is the exact sweet spot where fungal spores germinate, release digestive enzymes, and start dissolving your timbers. Hydrated lime is a powerful natural alkaline mineral. When you dust hydrated lime across the surface of your crawlspace dirt and brush a light lime borate wash onto your joists, you instantly shift the surface pH from an acidic 5.0 up to an alkaline 12.5. At a pH level of 12.5, the microscopic enzymes that wood rot fungi use to break down cellulose are permanently neutralized. The fungal spores cannot hatch. The mold cannot take root. The rot stops dead in its tracks right where it sits, not because you poisoned it with a harsh synthetic spray, but because you changed the environment so completely that the organism cannot function. At the same time, hydrated lime acts as a natural desiccant. It pulls dampness out of the top layer of dirt and reacts with carbon dioxide in the air to slowly cure into solid calcium carbonate, which is pure limestone. You are literally turning the damp surface of your crawlspace soil into a thin, breathable crust of natural stone. And the borate you mix into it soaks into the outer grain of your joists. Subterranean termites, carpenter ants, and powder post beetles cannot digest wood that contains borate salt. $6 for a bag of lime and a couple of dollars for borate accomplishes what an $18,000 contract tries to do with plastic, pumps, and continuous electricity. Now I want to walk you through exactly how to put this $6 trick to work under your own house this coming weekend. The whole process takes about half a day, requires no special skills, and uses plain tools you probably already have sitting in your garage or shed. Before you start, gather your materials. You will need one 50-pound bag of hydrated lime from the farm store, one small box of plain borax or agricultural borate, a 5-gallon bucket, a long wooden stick for mixing, a wide paintbrush, and a cup. For safety, put on a dust mask, long sleeves, work gloves, and safety goggles. Lime is dusty, and you do not want it in your eyes or lungs. Step 1. Clear and inspect the ground. Climb into your crawl space with a good flashlight. Pull out any trash or fallen insulation sitting on the dirt. If there is old torn plastic sheeting lying around, pull it out so the soil is bare. Take a screwdriver and poke your main floor joists every few feet. If the wood feels firm, you are in great shape. If it feels soft in a small spot, note where that spot is so we can treat it directly in Step 3. Step 2. The ground dusting. Take your hydrated lime and scatter a light, thin coat across the entire dirt floor of your crawl space. You want a thin, even dusting, like flour sprinkled on a kitchen cutting board. Focus heavily on the perimeter dirt right next to your concrete foundation walls, because that is where ground moisture creeps in fastest. This lime dust instantly reacts with surface dampness, raises the soil pH to 12.5, and locks down rising steam before it reaches your joists. Step 3. The joist wash. Fill your 5-gallon bucket halfway with warm water. Stir in 2 cups of hydrated lime and 2 cups of borate powder until it forms a thin, milky white wash. Take your wide brush and paint the wash directly onto the sides and bottoms of your floor joists, beam connections, and subfloor plywood. As this wash soaks into the wood grain, the borate penetrates deep to stop insects, while the lime coat freezes existing surface mold spores instantly. Step 4. Align your airflow. Check your foundation vents around the outside of your house. Clear out any dirt or overgrown bushes blocking them. During spring, summer, and fall, keep those vents open so fresh air can move through freely across your newly treated floor. The moving air carries away remaining humidity, while your new lime barrier keeps ground steam from refilling the space. 4 simple steps, less than $15 in raw materials, and an afternoon of honest effort. By Sunday evening, the earthy mushroom smell under your hallway will be gone, replaced by a clean, crisp mineral scent. Before you go crawling under your porch with a bag of lime, I owe you a fair and serious word about safety and real limitations. I tell you this plain because I want you to protect your home without hurting yourself, and because foolish advice on the internet will ruin your house if you follow it blindly. First, let us talk about handling hydrated lime safely. Hydrated lime is caustic. It is a strong alkaline mineral powder, and while it contains no synthetic poisons, it loves water. When dry lime dust touches moisture, like sweat on your arms, moisture in your eyes, or the inside of your lungs, it activates and begins to dry that tissue out fast. If you crawl into a tight space without protection and throw lime powder around, you will end up with raw skin, burning eyes, and a coughing fit that ruins your afternoon. So treat it with respect. Put on a simple $10 dust mask or N95 respirator. Wear long pants, a long-sleeved shirt, work gloves, and tight-fitting safety glasses. If you get dust on your skin, wash it off with cold water when you come out from under the house. Use a simple cup to lay the powder down close to the soil rather than tossing it up into the air. Safe, sensible work habits are what separate an old farmer who does this for 80 years from someone who makes a dusty mess. Second, understand what this $6 trick cannot do. Lime and borate treat wood and soil. They do not fix broken laws of physics. If you have an active plumbing leak under your bathroom, a cracked drain pipe or a copper line dripping a gallon of water a day directly onto a beam, no powder on earth will save that wood. Fix the pipe first. Lime handles natural ground steam, not a running water leak. Likewise, if your crawl space fills with standing water after heavy rain because your yard slopes toward the foundation, fix your outdoor drainage first. Clean your roof gutters. Extend downspouts 6 feet away from walls, and grade the dirt so rainwater flows away. Lime handles damp soil. Downspouts handle rain. Most importantly, hydrated lime stops rot cold, but it cannot bring dead wood back to life. If a fungal infection has eaten a support beam for 15 years and the beam is cracked in half or turned to mush, the lime freezes the rot, but it will not rebuild missing wood. A snapped timber needs structural support. So what do you do if your floor joists are already sagging, dipping, or bouncing when you walk across the room? You do not need to pay a contractor $10,000 to jack up your foundation. You can fix a sagging beam yourself in an afternoon for less than $50. And in the next chapter, I will show you exactly how my family does it. So your floor is already dipping near the kitchen table. You walk across the hallway, and your china cabinet rattles because the floor joist beneath it lost its stiffness from years of damp rot. A foundation repair company will tell you that you need heavy steel screw jacks, full foundation leveling, and $10,000 of structural work. I am going to show you how we restore sagging beams on Amish farmsteads using $20 of wood, a $30 bottle jack, and simple physical leverage. First, go to the lumber yard and buy one pressure-treated 2x8 or 2x10 board that matches the height of your existing floor joists. Buy a small box of 3-inch construction screws, a bottle of waterproof wood glue, and a short piece of rough-sawn white oak or locust wood. White oak and black locust are two of the densest hardwoods in North America. They do not crush under heavy loads, and bugs will not eat them. Climb under the house with a standard hydraulic bottle jack, the same $30 jack you keep in the trunk of your truck to change a flat tire. Set a heavy wooden block flat on the dirt floor, directly under the lowest spot of the sagging joist, to give your jack a solid, level footing. Place a short vertical 4x4 post on top of the jack, resting right against the bottom of the weak floor beam. Now, turn the jack handle one single notch, just enough to put light pressure on the joist. Do not try to lift the floor 2 inches in 5 minutes, or you will crack drywall in the room above. Lift the joist 1/8 of an inch today. Come back tomorrow morning, give the jack handle another small pump, and lift it another 1/8 of an inch. Over 3 or 4 days, you slowly and gently ease the heavy sagging floor back up to dead level. Once the floorboard is level, coat your new board with waterproof wood glue and sandwich it tight against the damaged joist. Carpenters call this sistering the joist. Drive your construction screws through both boards in a staggered zigzag pattern every 8 inches. Finally, drive a white oak wedge tight under the end of the sistered beam, release your bottle jack, and pull it out. The new wood holds the weight. The lime Borate wash stops future rot, and your floor is firm, level, and silent again. You spent $45 in materials and an hour of work over 3 days, saving yourself a $10,000 contractor bill. There is a lesson written into the timber of old barns that modern builders forgot, and it goes far beyond lime, Borate, and floor joists. When you drive through Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, or Holmes County, Ohio, you will see timber frame barns built in the 1820s and 1830s that are still standing straight, square, and true. They have never had a central dehumidifier plugged into a wall. They have no plastic vapor barriers stapled to their rafters. They have no electrical systems, no chemical spray contracts, and no foundation warranties. Yet the heavy oak beams inside them are as sound and dry today as they were when the original carpenters raised them by hand 200 years ago. Why have those old buildings survived while a suburban house built in 1995 develops rotting subfloors, moldy joists, and sagging hallways in less than 20 years? It is because the old carpenters built structures that breathe. They understood a fundamental truth about nature that modern corporate construction has tried to ignore. You cannot fight water by sealing it in a plastic trap. Earth moves, air moves, moisture rises and falls with the seasons. A building that tries to fight nature by sealing itself shut with layers of plastic and foam eventually chokes on its own trapped dampness. But a building that lets air flow freely, uses natural alkaline minerals to protect its wood, and allows moisture to evaporate naturally will stand for centuries without rotting. Modern home construction does not sell you breathable buildings because there is no profit in a house that takes care of itself. The corporate home supply industry makes its money when your crawl space traps dampness, when your insulation holds water against your beams, and when your subfloor rots out on a predictable 10-year schedule. They sell you plastic wrap that causes decay, and then they sell you spray contracts, dehumidifiers, and steel jacks to fix the damage they helped create. We keep this old knowledge alive in our community not because we are afraid of modern technology, but because we refuse to become dependent on systems that exist only to send us a monthly bill. When you know how to use plain lime on your dirt, Borate on your joists, and sister a floor beam with a $30 bottle jack, you stop being a customer at the mercy of a contractor's estimate. You become the master of your own home again. You do not need an $18,000 contract to have a dry, solid, level floor under your feet. You just need a $6 bag of mineral powder, physical leverage, and the willingness to look at your house as a living structure built to breathe, endure, and stand firm for generations. So this coming weekend, here is your plan. Go out to your local farm supply store, grain elevator, or hardware store and ask for a plain bag of hydrated lime and a box of borate powder. Spend $15 total. Put on your gloves, your mask, and your safety glasses, and crawl under your house with a flashlight. Clear out any old trash or fallen insulation lying on the dirt. Dust a light coat of lime across the soil. Paint your floor joists with a thin lime borate wash, and check that your foundation vents are open to let the summer breeze pass through freely. If you have a spot where the floor bounces or dips near the stove, pick up a pressure-treated board, a bottle of wood glue, and a simple hydraulic bottle jack. Lift the joist 1/8 of an inch a day, sister the beam, wedge it tight with a piece of white oak, and take your house back with your own 2 hands. Tell me in the comments below, how old is your house? What state or county are you watching from? And what does the floor under your kitchen feel like right now? Does it bounce? Is there a damp, earthy smell coming through your floor vents when the heat turns on? Tell me what you find when you crawl under there this weekend. I read every single one of these comments. And the stories you share help other families learn how to fix their own homes without getting taken advantage of by corporate repair contracts. And if what I have shared with you today rings true, make sure you come back for the next video. I am going to show you how my grandfather built a dry stacked stone retaining wall along the creek bed on this farm that has held back thousands of tons of wet earth and winter floodwaters for 80 years without a single pound of concrete, mortar, or rebar. Uses nothing but gravity, crushed limestone, and hand-cut field stones. And it is a technique you can use to stop soil erosion in your own yard for the cost of a few afternoon hours. Until then, crawl under your house, dust your dirt, let your floorboards breathe, and remember that the people who built this country with their hands knew things about keeping a house dry and level that we are only just starting to remember. Stay watchful, stay independent, and I will see you next time.